Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Broner versus Hutchinson fight. If you are new around here, then you have to subscribe. Please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Broner is 34-4-1 with 24 KOs, and Hutchinson is 22-4 with 9 KOs. This fight is a 10-round fight in the welterweight division. Broner's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Santiago over 2 years ago now, and a lot of people kind of had question marks if that was even a win, to be honest, but he did manage to win. Hutchinson's last fight was also a win via unanimous decision versus Hubert about a year ago now. This is Hutchinson's toughest test in my opinion to date, and most likely everybody's opinion to date. Hutchinson's losses have come against Eberhardt in 2016 and Dumbia in 2011. Since then he's on a 10-fight win streak, and the Dumbia one was on his debut anyway, and so wouldn't really look too much into those losses, to be honest. Maybe just the fact that they are against maybe a bit lesser opponents, especially that Eberhardt one being not too long ago now. I mean, 2016, I suppose it was a little while ago now, to be honest. Broner's losses have come against Pacquiao in 2019, Garcia in 2017, Porter in 2015, and Maidana in 2013. He's been fighting since 2008, so a long career, but them losses, they're against very, very respectable opponents, very tough opponents, and some of the best opponents you could really lose to be honest. And it is kind of fair enough to an extent of why he did lose against these fighters, and it makes sense why he did lose because they are just such good opponents. And I mean, Broner himself, he was, and I suppose is the former WBA World Super Lightweight, WBO World Super Featherweight, WBC World Lightweight, and WBA World Welterweight champion. So 4 different world titles in 4 different weight divisions. That shows that you've got to be that world beater and be a very, very good fighter in his prime to be able to do that. And this was around 2013 to maybe 16, 17, where even 2019, I suppose, when he fought Pacquiao, that kind of era, he was a very tough fighter and a very good fighter and one to beat. But it is just recent years where he's not been fighting that much, and maybe question marks have come over even his recent performance, and just the things going on behind the scenes have been affecting him, and that's what's kind of put question marks over this fight. But even to be fair, Hutchinson as well, I fought once last year, fought a couple of times I think in 2019, and then had like a big break before to 2014 or something like that. I might be wrong, it's something like that. He's not been overly active himself either, so I think, to be honest, this is a good matchup for him. And this is Broner's first fight with Don King. So Don King put a lot of money towards Broner, so I'm sure he's not going to want Broner to lose, and so he's probably enjoying this matchup as well as a good kind of step up, I suppose, to an extent in the opponent, maybe from Santiago, in just to get him out there and actually get him a fight going and get him something to work for, I suppose, Broner. And so let's speak about Broner as a fighter. It's difficult to speak about these kind of fighters because, like I said, they haven't been active, so you don't really know what kind of versions you're going to see of them. And especially of recent years, you don't really know what version you're going to see of Broner either. But, of course, he's faced adversity. He's been through a lot in his life in general, and I know that he does speak a lot about that. But either way, he has faced adversity, and now he's back fighting, so you've got to give him, I suppose, credit to an extent for being able to do that. He seems to be now in a good mindset, so I feel like his mindset is quite an important factor for him as to if he's going to fight well or not. But he seems to be in a good mindset at the moment. In his prime, we're going to speak a little bit about that. I mean, he was fast, powerful, naturally athletic. He was a counterpuncher, confident, has great movement, and had a high IQ, as well as a solid defense. So all them things made him that world beater that he once was, and if he can get even little bits of that back, then I feel like we're going to be in for a very good fight as well. And something that's never really left him is his jab. His jab's always been very good, and that's never really something that seemed to leave him. And to be fair, it seems like he probably could just win fights alone with just his jab at the moment, and that shows how good that was and how good that is. He can be a bit ill-disciplined at times, so it'd be interesting to see if any of that kind of creeps in a little bit. He is, of course, past his peak. You can't really go past that. Obviously, he wants to get back to the world title fights and has signed this big deal to get back to the world title fights, but you got to be honest, he is past that peak. He has to adjust with the times. Be interesting to see if he has adjusted and if he can still fight with at least a little bit of what he was. He wasn't amazing in his last fight, of course. He doesn't throw loads. There's always been talks about him not throwing enough or anything like that. So maybe he's going to want to put that to bed and maybe throw a bit more in this one. I don't know, but there's always been questions about that. And in his last fight, he was struggling with timing a little bit and wasn't throwing much in general. And I don't know, but I think if he can get back to his prime, or even, like I said, like I've been saying, just a little bit, then there is a hope that we can see a good Broner fight here. Hutchinson as a fighter, he's confident in himself. He wanted this fight, he called for this fight, so even though he's not been that active, it's something that's got him going for this fight. Can be up for a war and probably will want this to go to a war, so that would be interesting to see, because if Broner isn't wanting to throw loads, then he's going to have to use good movement, because if Hutchinson is going to be wanting a war, then he might be trying to force Broner to throw. He does let his hands go himself, he wears you down, so there's aspects there of like him wanting to put up a good fight here and wanting to give the fans something, and like I said, possibly going against Broner's style to an extent. He's not been overly active either, like I mentioned. He may not focus, his focus may not be on the sport, so he's probably not going to have the best conditioning or anything like that, because his focus hasn't really fully been on the sport. He may not be overly powerful, he's not always overly powerful, and he's not really that fast in general, to be honest. So like I said, I think this is a good matchup for Broner, to be honest. Broner is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Broner will win via unanimous decision. I think the only thing that might catch Broner out is just, like I said, the letting hands go, but I feel like he won't be able to do that for the whole fight. And I think if Broner, possibly if he can just stick behind his jab and just slip a few punches, look a little bit half decent, then I think he'll be able to win this one. I don't think it's an overly difficult fight. I think it's a good matchup, but I don't think it's nothing that he's not seen before, and I think he said it himself, no style he's not seen before. So I think he can win this one with relative amounts of ease. And then opponents that I've put for him to next fight, I have no idea of who he might fight next. There's a couple of opponents I've put here, but they're just out of the blue. I've just picked names here. Barrios, that's a big shout. If he really wants to step up, I think Barrios might possibly invite him to do that. Randall, it's another fight. Alan Sanchez, it's another fight. They're just American fighters I saw that are similar in the kind of age to an extent. Maybe not Barrios, but Randall, Sanchez are a little bit older, and they maybe are past their prime a little bit, but have fought at a world level themselves. And because I don't think he's going to go from this to then be like a mad world level fighter straight away, so it's going to take time to build him up. So I literally have no idea realistically of who he might fight next, but that's what makes it interesting, I suppose. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.